In this video, we will show you how to replace your door hinge pins on this Dodge Dakota. These will be located where your door connects to the body of the vehicle. Okay friends, let's get started on our job. The first thing we want to do is support the bottom of our door. I'll use a jack and some pads to protect my paint. Now that we have the door supported, let's make our way to where the door connects to the hinges. We'll start at the top hinge. You'll find that you have a 13mm headed nut, and then directly below it, you have a 13mm headed bolt. We're going to loosen the nut, but leave it on there a couple threads. For this, I'll use my ratcheting wrench. Make sure it's still on there. Do the same to the lower hinge. For this one, the mounting nut's down along the bottom. We'll loosen that, leaving it on a couple threads. Now we can take that door and slowly pull it away from the body of the vehicle. Now let's continue on to cutting this pin right across here. To do this, you can either use a saw of some sort or a cutting blade. Now we can continue on to removing this pin from the hinge. To do this, I'll be using an angled pry bar. To do this, I'll continue by coming down along this area of the hinge pin and driving it down and out. There's that half. Now that we have the lower part of the hinge pin out of there, we'll continue on to cutting the head off of the top of the upper hinge pin. There we are. Now let's move along to the wiring for the door. For this, I'll use an angled pick and carefully remove my boot. Now with that out of the way, you'll notice that I can wiggle this around, but it is still held in place. Looking down in this area, you can see that there's a little squeeze tab. Here, here, and the same on the reverse side. To easily access these, I'll be using my angled pick. I'm going to come from the inside of this area and gently pry up against that tab. As I do that, I can carefully pull it away a little bit. I'll move along to each tab doing the same thing. At this point, you can start disconnecting your wiring. You'll find that you have a white connector and a black connector. For each of these, you want to press in on the locking tab and then carefully remove it. Every time you disconnect an electrical connector, take a peek. If you see any funny colors, it's corrosion, and that would need to be dealt with. Those look good. Now we can move along to removing our nuts. While you do this, be extremely careful. These are the last thing holding your door in place. Now let's grab onto the door and we'll carefully pull it away from the body of the vehicle. With that out of the way, we'll continue on to removing our spring. Keep in mind, this is under spring pressure. We'll just press it in and pull it off of there. Give this a quick inspection, make sure it's not rotted or damaged in any way. Now we can remove the door check from the area. Quick inspection on that as well. Set it aside. Now we can start cutting out our next hinge pin. Continue on to driving it out of position. Continue on to our upper pin. Now what you'll notice is with the kit, it came with some of these bushings. Now this is a universal kit, but typically the bushings press right out of the hinge itself. On this Dodge Dakota, they do not come out of the hinge inserts here. If you found that they were stripped or damaged in some way, you have to replace the whole hinge. All right, let's get ready for the installation. We'll get this hinge into place and continue on with one of our hinge pins. Slide this straight on down through. Press that in so it's bottomed out. Let's get our clip into place. Commonly for this, you can go ahead and line it up, use some pliers, and lock it in. Make sure it's seated all the way around. Once you have that pin properly installed, continue on to the door check and mounting spring. We'll take the door check and put it in position. Continue on with the spring. Slide that over the groove. Now we're going to press this into position. Be careful because it is under spring pressure as you press it in. Now we can continue on to putting in the door check mounting pin. To easily do this, use a flathead screwdriver and come in through the ear of your hinge. While you're pulling this away, it is under spring pressure, so watch your fingers. Take that brand new pin and put it up and through the hinge, through the door check, and then all the way up through the other part of the hinge. Let's drive that all the way in. Install your clip along the top here. We'll set it into the groove, lock it in with some pliers. Make sure it's secure. All right, we finished with the top hinge pins. Now let's move along to the lower hinge pin. Let's get ready to install our lower pin. We'll get this hinge into position. Once you've aligned the holes, continue on by driving this straight down and through. Let's put on our hinge pin clip. Now let's carefully start bringing the door into place. This is going to be easier if you have a second person. Let's slowly bring this over and put the stud through the hinge. Now once you have both of those hinges through, start on each of your mounting nuts, but leave them loose. Maneuver the door until it looks as though it's aligned with the original hinge points. We'll continue on with the wiring harness. Continue on to putting this in place. Lightly tighten the mounting bolts. Remove the support from under your door and test the door functionality. When we do this, you want to make sure you come in as slow as possible in case it's a little off. You don't want to damage the body of the vehicle or the door. That looks like it lines up perfectly. We'll make sure the door shuts and it's as even as possible. If it didn't look like it lined up, continue on by making an adjustment by loosening your hardware, adjusting the door, and then snugging it. Continue testing until it feels as though it lines up properly. Once you're sure it closes properly, torque all of the mounting hardware to 21 foot-pounds. All right, let's test its functionality one last time. Perfect. Thanks for watching.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.